Welcome everyone. Today I'm going to play a different game. In this case we are going to have a look at Automation, the car company tycoon game. Even though the tycoon game part is at this moment not yet in the game. But anyway, without further ado, let's work on something that is there. Well, let me explain you a bit what this game is. At the moment we have scenarios and a sandbox available. Soon there will be some kind of campaign game, but that might be in a couple of months. And the sandbox game is currently the meat of the game, as to say. So what this game is, you build cars and you use, ultimately the cars that you will build, you will actually start to produce with your company that you create, and within this world you will try to sell them and of course become one of the biggest car companies in the world, at least. That could be one of your objectives. It's mostly of course also personally motivation driven. With that I mean that for this game there are not, as far as I know at least, there are not going to be hard set goals or aims. You have to make those yourself. And that can be anywhere from a small sports car manufacturer up until the big ones like Toyota and Volkswagen, who produce all kinds of cars, or maybe actually a devoted car for the small car markets, that car manufacturer. So it's in a way determined by your own preferences, which can also be totally different for each game, of course. Anyway, so the scenarios currently that are available are mostly, I would say not just tutorials. There are also a couple of very difficult ones, but most of them actually play out quite well, and are in a way less imaginative. They of course do have set goals that you have to achieve, but I personally don't play with them that much. Anyway, what we're going to look at is the sandbox itself. And the sandbox allows you to build new cars. Now, I have already devoted a lot of time into this game, for years already, by the way. Even before early access on Steam, I was already playing this game. And well, like I said, it is not finished yet. They're working on it and it's going to be finished, but it requires still some time. So take everything that you see here still with some kind of reservation, even though this part will not change that much anymore, besides the besides the graphics, which actually will improve a lot because they're porting the game now slowly to the Unreal Engine instead of their own. So, if we now look at this screen, we can see that we can just build any kind of car that we would like to build. But what I'm going to do, and try to do with you, is to make a, well, let's say a 2000s. What shall we do? Shall we go for a muscle car approach? I think we should do that. Let's go for 2000 muscle car approach. So you can just you can always change that. But okay, so what you should not forget actually, that in the version of the game that I have, I've already downloaded a lot of stuff from the Steam Workshop. So it contains multiple bodies, sometimes even double versions of it, because both the base game by now and the Steam Workshop are still active and have the same body in it. But in general, the Steam Workshop does greatly expand the amount of bodies available. So I like to have that switched on. Now for a muscle car, I will try to go through the entire process. Personally, I consider myself pretty experienced, so I hope that from that perspective you can also learn a lot here. And maybe I actually have to switch the music off a bit. But let me do that quickly. So this might be better. Let's just resume. Oh yeah, this is the wrong model. Let's just start afresh. So you're thinking out a 2000s muscle car. And let's see, what kind of body will we take for this? I think we could go for a pretty big one. That's always nice. For muscle cars at least. Because we don't have to be capable in the corners. So that saves us a lot of issues. You just want to have a big car with a huge V8 in it. And well, that can do drag racing pretty much all day long. So this is one of the bodies that you can choose, of course. You can have a 4-door and a 2-door version, but yeah, still not that much of a muscle car, I would say. This though looks more like it, but that's more of a sports car approach, pure sports car approach. Same also goes for this. This might actually work, I would say. But is there any better? No, this also not really. This might actually also work. I think we go for this one. Because this, I guess, is, yeah, it's a bit small, a bit strange. It's probably one of the Steam Workshop ones. But we can go for this one. So what we want, we can just morph the body a bit. I'm going to morph it in such a way that will have a pretty tough appearance. We can put the bonnet a bit further back. Make the car also a bit bigger in general. Decrease the fenders. Like that. Seems okay for now. We can always adjust later. Okay, so we go for a monocoque chassis with AHS steel, which is the strongest steel. So by the way, over here you can see all the different variants, and of course you can read and compare actually what's better of each of them. I go for AAH steel because it's available and it's just a plainly better version of all the steel predecessors, and it's still not that expensive. We can go for rear, but that's not really, I would say, sports of muscle car material. So we go for front longitudinal, double wishbone in the front. We could go for a multi-link in the back. That's possible. It's expensive though, and cornering is not super important. So I think we can go for just a double wishbone. And then for the plate material, the panel material, again, we can go for partial aluminium. That saves weight and also is pretty strong still. But I think we can just go for the all-out steel. We don't care so much about weight. We just put in a big V8 to compensate. So then, of course, you can just make the grille. So what I normally do for these modern muscle cars is really take such a grille like this. Gives it a very tough appearance. And then what we have to do is we have to put in some... I'm just experimenting a bit now, trying to see whether it looks how I would like it to look. Still don't really like the headlights, to be honest. These. No, they don't look tough enough. Let's see, do we have a better version? What about this? I think this is also a Steam Workshop one, but that doesn't matter. I also don't like it so much here. Oh yeah, these might be nice, by the way. They're not super tough, I must say. Sometimes it's very difficult. You want to make the car... I mean, it's just appearance here, so it's not really that important. But you do want, at least I often want to have the car look a bit nice. Nah, this really looks dull. Nah, also not. Maybe we should just go for this, I would say. Yeah. It's still a bit dull, but it looks at least a bit on point. Then we just put in a nice badge in the middle. And what we have to do for certain is just modify the bonnet a bit. Because we do want to have a very muscle car-like appearance. So this really makes it look way better. Now we have to put on some door handles. Don't think I like that so much actually. Yeah. This. And then of course we have to handles here. We have to put on some way to put it in more gas, like that. We can go for the extra, some extra cooling here. So yeah, this looks already way better. Okay, let's put some indicators on the side. Or maybe here. And then let's start work on the back of the car. So what we can do for this one, maybe we can take these taillights. Looks a bit off still. Ah, it's okay. I can live with that. Try to make it a bit bigger. Like that. And then of course what we need is a nice big exhaust. Or actually double exhaust. I would say something like this. Should be okay. this is exactly. Nah, let's leave it like this. I think this looks nice already. Yeah. Yeah, I like it. Looks tough enough. Okay, then we give it 1 point in quality for all the extra bits that have been added. Now we go for rear-wheel drive, and I think, yeah, we can just pick a color, but it doesn't really matter for the car itself. Yeah, actually, I think red is usually the way to go. Like that. Okay, now we get into a very important part, making the engine. So, if you make an engine, you have to decide, of course, what kind of engine. So you can go for inlines, 4 or 6 at the moment, or V6, V8, V12s, or V12 of 8 flat plane. I think we can go for just regular cross-plane V8. Because weight is not an issue, we can go for a cast iron block. I think we can just try it. So these arrows indicate the size of the engine compared to the car. So let's not go fully overboard. Let's go for a 6-liter V8. And we have to adjust the stroke and the bore a bit later on, but I will show you how. We can go for an overhead cam, maybe 3 valves per cylinder, and maybe we can go for a head material also cast iron, but maybe a bit more fancy. And let's try an aluminium head. I know that this is not optimal, because ideally you want to have the same metal for, or let's say material for both of them, but it does work. And the big advantage is the head is a bit lighter now. So, but on the other hand, it doesn't work, or it doesn't need to be. So we can also go for cast iron maybe. Maybe we should just do that. Then what I will do for this engine, I like to do that, is VVL. So VVL is an option that allows us at least to actually, well, create an engine that has both very good low and high cam profiles, and that helps us with establishing enough horsepowers, but also performance in the low end. So because this is a very slow engine in a way, let's just go for a sporty setting high end and a low setting early. You can also change the style. I like this, just the chrome. We go for naturally aspirated engine, so no turbos. We go for injection systems, and we go for multi-point, and we go for twin, because it's a more sporty performance kind of car with performance intakes. Then we go for, let's go for premium fuel, because it's also going to be a premium car. Let's just leave the mixture like this. The ignition time can be increased, the RPM limit can be increased, and we can up this by 2 points. Then we go for a tubular system, which is a bit more fancy, dual of course, and for this car, and we go with bypass the valves. Makes a bit more raw sound at the end. And then we go for a 3-way catalytic converter, and we just, well, maybe we install one reverse flow muffler. Now, let's have a look. How does it perform? So here you can see the graphs. The blue is the power in horsepower, and the red is the torque curve. And here you can hear the kicking in of the second part, so of the VVL system. Yeah, so the engine currently is not usable because the RPM is too high, but we will just reduce that to a good level, like this. And what we can do is now we start adjusting the stroke. so we get a good amount of reliability, and then we just increase the bore size of the car. Like that. And let's go for a 5-liter V8 engine. Like this. Okay, so this already looks great. We have a good reliable engine now that is capable of running quite well. It has both a nice high-end torque curve that is pretty stable across the line at 360 Newton meters at that RPM range. What we could have done actually is we could have put in steel stuff and forged stuff. That would have helped. Maybe we should do that actually. We can increase the RPM a bit again, like that. Still, the car will be pretty reliable till 7,000 RPM. And what we can now do is we can increase the VVL profile a bit so that we can have a nicer power curve. And let's see if we do. We have to try to get to match this up a bit. Like that. I think this is nicer. Yeah. So now we see how much fuel octane we have left. So we can increase the... Oh, first we have to look at the ignition timing. Whether it's set correctly. So I usually scan like this a bit and I see that... Well, here there is a jump again. Like this. So I just keep it at 82. And now I increase the compression all the way to fill up the octane levels. We could decide actually to have him a bit more lean, but this is a V8 and it is also a sportier kind of car, so maybe we do want to have the response to be high with a bit more fuel. So this seems okay. Seems like a good version of the engine. Can put a bit more quality into some aspects of the engine, so it actually... Yeah, maybe one more, but it actually helps. And now we can try to adjust the exhaust system. This seems to be the most optimal setting. Loudness is still pretty okay, and we have the bypass valve. So again, it seems like this engine is finished now. So it generates 388 horsepower. Which is still not that much, I would say, but it's okay. We're talking about a 2000s muscle car. And you also have a test mode if you're interested. But it seems to be. It seems to be a good car, as it is now. So we can continue. So now the engine will be part of the car. You can see it sitting right here. It's pretty big. It's fine, but you can see clearly how big it is within this car. Huge engine for such a car. Then we go for manual gearbox. We go for 6-speed. Then we try to cover the entire range. We still have to adjust this all later. Might need an automatic locker, but we will see. Then we go for sports compound road. We try to get the biggest tire size possible. And then just increase the rim diameter. And let's see how wide we can make these tires. Let's have a look at this. And then something a bit less in the front. And also a bit wider, or let's say offset in the front. Like that. And then we go, these are also partially Steam Workshop. Now this is a bit fancy. This as well, this all fancy sports car. I think this works. But this also works very nicely. But that's, yeah. I often go for just this one. Let's put in alloy rims. And we can continue. We put in some vented discs, maybe 2 piston ones in the front. The engine is in the front, so there will be the most brake balance required. And we can maybe try to use a vented disc in the back and then see how it works. We can adjust again later. Now, top speed is of course important for these cars, so we go for a fully clad. We don't have any wings or lips, so that's fine. We don't need brake airflow with these more modern brakes, so that's also fine. We can either go for a 2-seater or a 4-seater. Let's try. And we know if you put in 4 seats, of course, it will be more restricted, but less restricted. 2 seats is more restricted, but on the other hand, car is big enough to hold 4, I would say. I would say 2 big chairs in the front, seats in the front, and 2 small ones in the back, if people can fit in. We go for premium or sport, but we have to look at that a bit later. And we go for just a premium CD. We put in power steering. Yeah, maybe electronic stability. And then we go for advanced safety. The spring settings. Let's go for progressive springs. And let's put in some just plain gas monotubes with passive sway bars. It's still simple. It's simple and cheap, but that doesn't matter. It doesn't mean that the car will drive less. We go for a sport setting first, and let's see. Okay, so let me rename this. It's pretty unimaginative, but that's fine for now. So it has a 5-liter V8. Oh, V7. Okay, and this is going to be a like I said, 5-liter. Oh, yeah, 5-liter V8 crossplane. And often I do this like that. CC naturally aspirated. Okay, that's all set. Now, the big thing is, okay, so this is the market screen. Ultimately, you will decide over here sort of how well your car does compared to the competition. So what you can see here is indeed we score very well in the muscle car category, exactly as we wanted, and also pretty well in the muscle premium category. But we will have to see. I think we can just go for a plain muscle car, not a premium one. And what we can see is, well, we score already good enough there. Of course, in reality, you have to put it on a margin. I would say that this would be at a, well, maybe the factory should try to earn as much as possible. Maybe 25% margin. That would be nice. Maybe a bit less actually. Let's go a bit less. Maybe 18% is enough. Or 20. Let's go for 20. Now we start adjusting everything. So we also adjusted, of course, the air intake. So that adjusted our top speed a lot. So now we just increase these kind of things and try to make this score as high as possible. Let's see. So if we put the gearing a bit more off like this. Yeah, we have a lot of wheel spin, but the acceleration does increase. So now we put in an automatic locker, and acceleration increases a lot. And well, wheel spin is still fine, I would say. You can expect that if you would get such a car, that wheel spin would be a big issue. So something like this. Also even go for this, might even be better, I would say. Try to reduce the wheel spin now as much as possible without losing acceleration from 0 to 100 time. So this looks fine. This actually looks nice, but I think we can do even a bit better, a bit more aggressive. Go a bit more for a sports, sports version. So we now have just as wide in the front as in the back. And we reduce the rim offset there a bit. Let's go. Look, is magnesium better? No. Steel? But we want to have alloys. Now, we can up these a bit, I would say. You want pretty good brakes, but we can see clearly that here, from the graph, the brake pressure of the rear tires is way too high. So that also is not always good for a car to have such a high brake pressure or overkill of it. So I'm reducing the size a bit, but I do want to have minimal brake fade. So I think we have to run with something like this for now. But yeah, so that's a bit how it works. So you want to meet up the thresholds mostly with the demands of the tires. And here you can see how long it takes. So from 300 kilometers per hour in this case, going all the way till a full stop would require 6 seconds. So if we now, let's have a look. If we now increase this, you see it doesn't really increase this at all anymore, even though the pressure is way higher, just because, well, here you see a decrease clearly. So we try to optimize it so it doesn't shift anymore, so it's something like this. Yeah. And this doesn't seem to impact actually the brake distance, but on the other hand, let's just roll with this. Fine. Next part is aerodynamics. So if we have none, we can see we score a bit higher actually. Or not. Let's see. No, not. And with full downforce? No, that's not also very muscle car like. So I think these settings are fine. Let's have a look whether we can put some more quality into finishing the car, so it will have less drag. Now here is the threshold. Then it becomes likely also too expensive to modify. We don't put any cooling flaps, that's not necessary. Now let's look, is sport? No, premium is better. So we have premium seats in our, and yeah, I guess if we have 2 seats it's better as well. So let's roll for with 2 seats then. Put in a bit more quality into the finishing of the car. Let's see if we do ABS, it also helps a lot. Traction control will likely help decent amount, but I guess we don't want to have that in. And yeah, electronic stability also helps. Let's put in also ABS. And let's put in a standard cassette. And I guess we can go for standards. It does help with the score. Let's go for advanced. Standard springs helps also a bit. With semi-active. Sway bars. Then we go for the sport setting. So we adjust the camber. So the camber is really, so this is all a bit like you have to fiddle around with it. But in general, it's camber determines the angle mostly that the tire will make towards the road. So in this case, negative cambers are usually better for cornering. You can see that the car is bottoming out currently. So we have to do something about that. We have to stiffen up the entire chassis. So we can do that like this. And this will of course alter the cornering behavior of the car. And it will also alter the grip levels of a tire towards the road. Oh, this doesn't help anymore. Of course, it's not super important to have a very low ride. Now we stiffen up the sway bars, even though they are semi-active. You can stiffen them up a bit. I want to have less body roll because a fast car shouldn't roll like a boat. Well, some do still, I must admit, but I don't think it's desired in most cases. Nice thing about body roll is that you could, of course, it could help with cornering as well, but usually it's only, well, it's only bad. Let's stiffen up the dampers a bit. So this looks like it's almost finished. The roll angle is still a bit highish, but it's okay. If we increase this, no, it doesn't help. So here you can see almost the entire finished product now. So we have a muscle car that has a, what was it again, 388 brake horsepower engine in it, a V8, 5 liter, and well, it has 6 single gear clutch manual gearbox. It has AAH steel, which is very tough kind of steel. It's also environmentally very resistant. And we have corrosion steel panels, which is fine. We don't care so much about weight for this car. The weight is pretty high though. It's 1600 and almost 10 kilograms. And we optimized it as much as, well, as we could, considering the entire model of the car, towards cornering, or let's say handling. Economy wise, it's, I say it's okay. It's not, of course, by any standards this is not great, but it's for such a type of car, I think it's okay. The comfort levels are also okay. Of course, that's also due to the stiff springs that removes that, and the safety is pretty good. So now let's see how the car handles. So here we are on the so-called automation test track, and in this part of the game you can actually figure out how fast your car will go across it, and also how it will handle a bit. Here you can also see a summary of that already. So we see that the balance of the car is okay, it's pretty decent. It's a bit more heavier in the front. It's logical because of course the engine is in the front, and it's also a pretty heavy one. So that you end up like this is not a big issue or a big surprise. Top speed is good though, 305 kilometers per hour. And the aerodynamic efficiency is pretty good still, because of the body that we chose, so that's why we can also go that fast. If no downforce, so we lose some forces in the front and in the rear over the speed. And you can see here the acceleration at the quarter mile standing kilometer per hour times. Standing kilometer times. So let's start and let's see how it rolls. So there you heard some slight wheel spin still, but it's fine. Going into Brian's Bend, then to Ben Hammerhead, all the way down to first gear, and accelerate all the way up full throttle, slow down again, into the Castle Carousel, and out of the corner, throttle up, and full throttle all the way down towards the slingshot. So we can now see that we already get up till 200 kilometers per hour. Going further, 240. Nice. There we have to. This is of course the cornering that comes in, the 250 meter circle that you try to make. The rating that we can get for that. Bavarian Bend. All the way to Kilgrove Chicane. There we have to go to a full stop almost. Then take the chicane and accelerate all the way up again to Pond Sickle towards Adams Apex. There we brake. We throttle a bit, give a bit of gas, then all the way up again with the gas towards Cossacks Corner. And from Cossacks Corner it's all the way to Lamp Hope, and then we almost are at the finish line again. And up to the finish, full throttle. And let's see what kind of time we got. So we got a 2:17, which is actually pretty decent. Yeah. Now let's have a look at the so-called, let me put it, Top Gear-like test track. So I will not do the entire thing, but then we get it at 122.5. So if you consider that for a 2000 car, that's actually pretty good. I think that back in 2000, well, Top Gear wasn't around then. Well, it was, but not the, let's say, the version of the one that we are familiar with mostly. It was really a bit more the old-fashioned car program. They started, I think, in 2003 or so, and I think that very, very high performance cars actually managed around the 120 mark. So, and some of the really exceptional cars went under that a bit, but then you are talking about the 218 to 16 maybe, but I think that is as far as it ever went back in those days. So, not saying that this is way better, but it seems to be at least better than what was around approximately back then, performance-wise, at least in speed, but also in cornering. So there you have it. You can of course further try to optimize all the settings by trying to change the camber a bit and then seeing how it behaves, and then going to the test track and then looking at these ratings, the Gs that indicate a bit how it performs. Like I said, in general it's like if you you can go up. Now you get critical oversteer, by the way. So this is critical understeer, so that's always a bit easier of course to handle. Now you see that we are at very good cornering speeds for the let's say tight corners, but for the wide corners it's way less, and that also affects our time, so that's not really the good way to go forward. So let's see if we do like this, then we get into these kind of ratings again. That's fine. So that's a bit how it works. And then in the future actually you will have the engineering. So here you can decide what kind of car it is, how reliable it should be, or let's say whether you give it a reliability boost or not. That will take of course time towards the total engineering time, so it might be something that you would like to reduce. So in our case, if I really want to take this serious, I would say we want to release this car at least within 4 years. So we go full efficiency, I guess, for the engineering time. You have to go full funding a bit. Let's go for that. That will cost us 370 million. If you go for a limited car type, it will be less, but then you can only build up to 1,000, I believe, of them. And we want to have more. Also in the future you can have team members here that might reduce the time, might improve some of the aspects of the rating of the car. But this is all still ongoing. I think I'll actually reduce reliability a bit. And let's just also reduce the funding, because this is really a lot. Then for the engine, it's the same trick. Go all the way up in reliability. That will take 4 years to develop. But here we could go for a bit more lenient towards learning, I would say. Something like this. I think I would be happy with that. It would be similar towards the car, so it should be around at the same time and ready to go. Of course, it's a fancy engine, don't forget it. So that it's expensive is logical. Then we go for a medium factory. We can see that we can build 141 cars like that. Then you have here the quality assurance threshold, which it will actually determine the threshold, the bar, when cars are admitted to go to the customers, or whether they are, I guess, returned for further inspection. So the higher you put this, the less cars you can put out, of course, but you can also adjust these kind of ratings. So we go for a bit more automation, I would say. So that would be a bit more automated, less labor required, labor intensive approach. And then we go for the tooling quality to be up a bit, so that will also help in our quality rating. And by the way, over here, this is like, I believe, green bar is within the first year, the yellow bar is after 3 years of production, and the red bar is at the end of production. So it resembles a bit the wear and tear of the factory, and also the maybe the complacency that happens within the employer workforce. Now, I think building this many cars a day is really a lot, even for such a car. So we can decrease the amount of shifts that we actually have. You see it. Then we might actually decrease also automation again. I think it's fine if we decrease that. Tooling quality, that is something we really want to have. Still a bit high-ish, like this. I think this is fine. Then we at least have a decent quality assurance. And we have approximately 68 cars a day that can be built. Then we go to the next tab, which will be for the engines. And there, of course, you can also assign project leads, etc. But that's still not fully and correctly implemented, so that's why I'm not worried about it so much. And here what we do is we also decrease the amount of shifts. And I guess we also increase the quality assurance all the way to 75, maybe even 80. But we really want 85. We really want a good engine. And you can see the amount of required. So in the future, I know that we could save engines as well, so we can also produce more than required, and that will actually help. So you can use it actually for also other cars. And then we just increase the amount of shifts. Let's go a bit over, so you have a bit more reserve engines. But that's about it. So then you have exactly the amount of engines. And then with a markup of like 20%, we end up with a either very good muscle premium car, as you can see here, which it is in a way as well, or still good muscle car, which is a bit on the expensive side, but it's okay. So it will be around 30,000. And that's about it. This is what I wanted to show you about this game. So we've now built a decent muscle car back in 2000, and with a good engine, of course, how it should be, and even decent cornering, and not too expensive, I would say. So if you want to see more of this game, please like and subscribe, and also place some comments in the comment section so that I aware of how you guys think about this game and how you feel. And well, if you want to see anything else built in a decent way, then of course just ask me and I will see what I can do. And with that, I would like to bid you a very good day and see you again next time.